At this time, I call the October 20th, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Roll call at 7 p.m. Joanne Chester.
Here.
Matt Cho. Ashley McLaughlin.
Here.
Adam Rush. Nancy Utman. Nancy. Charles Warmbrun. And Harvey Welch.
Here, we have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda? At this time, then, I would call for the approval of the minutes of the September 15th, 2021 regular meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I wasn't there, so I don't feel like I can say it.
Okay, that's fine. Nancy, are you in a position to second that?
Second.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ashley McLaughlin.
Yes.
Nancy Utman.
Yes.
Harvey Welch.
Yes.
And Joanne Chester.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Do we have any communications?
Yes, we have two communications. One was included in your packet. It's a letter in favor of the requested major variance from the neighbor of the applicant. I received another communication this afternoon from someone in opposition to the request that can simply be summarized by she was concerned that it would subtract from the open space on the lot. And I can address that during the staff presentation, but she was in opposition to the request, and that was the whole communication.
All right, thank you. Are there any continued public hearings? Then at this time, I will call for hearing ZBA 2021 Major-07, a request by Robert Weiss for a major variance to allow an accessory parking space in the required 25-foot front yard at 1005 Philo Road in the R3 single and two family residential zoning districts. Do we have a staff report?
Yes. And I'll also mention that Robert Weiss is here tonight and will make a statement on behalf of the applicant following the staff report. This is a request by Robert Weiss for a major variance to allow an accessory parking space in the required 25-foot front yard at 1005 Philo Road. Staff received 2 letters of public input, as previously mentioned. Staff finds that the case meets the variance criteria and recommends that the Zoning Board of Appeals recommend approval of the request. This is a location map of the property. It is located south of Washington Street on the west side of Philo Road. The applicant purchased the property in 2017. The house spans the width of the lot with narrow side yards of roughly 5 feet on the southeast side and 6 feet on the northwest side. There's an attached 1-car garage and a 9-foot wide access drive that provide a maximum 2 parking spaces on the lot. The requested variance would allow the applicant to pave an accessory parking space in the required front yard to create additional space for parking and to create a turnaround space so he can turn around before pulling out onto Philo Road. As of right now, this is a major safety concern of the applicant. He has difficulty pulling onto Philo Road, and this would help satisfy that concern. This is a zoning map of the property. The property is zoned R3, single and two-family residential. The adjacent properties to the west and south are zoned R3, and the north and east zoned B3. The applicant, here's a site photo of the property. The applicant requests the major variance to add additional parking and a turnaround space on his property. He would like to pave his existing access drive and additional 18-foot wide accessory parking space. Mr. Weiss has a difficult time backing out of his access drive onto Philo Road, and the accessory parking space would allow space for him to turn around before pulling out onto the street. The applicant does not have access to his rear or side yards on the property, so the front yard is the only reasonable space for additional parking. Accessory parking spaces are not permitted in required front yards, so the variance is required. For reference, a similar variance was approved in 2015 to allow an accessory parking space in a required front yard as well. That's the only other case that I was able to find similar to this one, but the criteria were very similar. And as you can see in these photos, the side yards on each side are very narrow. This is a site plan showing the existing access drive and then the proposed accessory parking space. The accessory parking area would be paved to the front property line and encroach 25 feet into the required 25-foot front yard. The access drive and parking area would be approximately 5 feet from the south property line and 26 feet 6 inches from the northwest property line. It should not cause a nuisance to either of the adjacent neighbors. Additionally, the accessory parking space will be roughly 16 feet 9 inches from the from the curb. So it shouldn't create any visibility issues. This is an oblique of the block on Philo. 11 of the 16 properties on the block of Philo have access to either the rear or side yard, and 10 of those properties have parking in the required rear or side yard. Of the 5 properties that do not have access to the rear or side yard, 3 of them have legally non-conforming accessory parking in the required front yard. This is one photo of the legally conforming parking in the required front yard. 1005 is one of only 5 properties along the block that does not have access to the rear or side yard, which significantly limits the possible locations for accessory parking. The accessory parking area would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood and would improve safety for the property owners, as they would be able to turn around before pulling out onto Philo Road. This is another photo of the accessory parking in a required front yard. To summarize, staff found that the application meets the requirements for the requested variance. Additionally, the engineering and building safety divisions have reviewed the request and have no objections to the accessory parking area, given that a right-of-way permit will be applied for and the access drive, apron, and driveway will comply with the city's right-of-way standards. This is a recommended condition of approval. There's no access to the rear or side yards. The 1-car garage and narrow driveway limit on-site parking to only 2 spaces, and there is no on-street parking along Philo Road. Allowing for an accessory parking space in the required front yard will provide more on-site parking for the applicant and create a turnaround space for drivers so they don't have to back out onto the busy street. If there were access to a rear or side yard, the accessory parking could be paved there and no variance would be required. This is a shot from the front of the home. The variance will not serve as a special privilege to the property owner, as there is no other area on the property where additional parking could go. The situation was not knowingly created by the applicant, as the house and existing access drive have been on the property since 1961. The variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or create a nuisance to the adjacent property owners. The variance represents the minimum deviation necessary from the zoning requirements, as there is no other possible locations for the accessory parking space or turnaround area. This is one last shot of the site plan and our recommendations. The Zoning Board of Appeals has the following options on the requested major variance. Forward the case to City Council with a recommendation of approval. Forward the case to City Council with a recommendation to approve the variances with certain terms and conditions, or deny the variance request. Staff recommends that the Zoning Board of Appeals forward the case to City Council with a recommendation of approval with 2 conditions as shown on the screen. The accessory parking space will generally conform to the submitted site plan, and the access drive, apron, and driveway will be paved with an approved surface and meet the City of Urbana right-of-way standards, subject to Public Works approval. I can take any questions for staff, and Mr. Weiss is here to make a statement on behalf of the applicant. Why don't we do questions for staff first, if there are any?
Yeah. Are there any questions for staff from the board? Hearing none, then at this time, Mr. Weiss, we're ready for you, sir. Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you give tonight will be true and accurate to the best of your belief?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now they can hear you.
Go on, Mr. Weiss.
Well, my name is Robert Weiss, and I live at that location. And I don't have any other way to put in parking but the front. That's why I'm here. And that's about it.
That's fine, sir. Are there any questions for Mr. Weiss? Hearing none, then thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions for staff based on any comments of Mr. Weiss? Yes, Nancy.
Is this really just for a turnaround, or will he be parking an additional vehicle there all the time?
No, I don't plan to, but I do have 3 children, and they will need a place to park when they come to visit. Now, this happened down the street. My son parked on the road entering back, and one of the neighbors had called the police because he parked down there. That's why I'm doing this. For parking for the kids and me. I'm trying to get out, and it's taken over 10 minutes just to get out, and I had to back out. That particular area has your Philo Road goes like there, and right across from the street from my drive is Boomerangs. There's another business, Dollar General, down the street, and they come out. Then the traffic this way. Then you got that side street, plus all the other 3 streets coming back this way. It can get really difficult to get out. That's the reason. It's a safety issue, but we need the room.
Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
normally, there's only one car then at your house?
Normally,
Okay,
I have a truck.
a truck?
I have a truck.
Uh-huh.
I have done shipping, 1994. I keep that in Philo,
Okay,
but I do bring it up occasionally.
all right. But
But not only when I need it.
that's what I understood you to say about your children, they're not there every day.
No,
When they do come, you
they
would
will
like,
use, yes.
okay, all right, thank you. Are there any additional questions for Mr. Weiss? Any additional questions for staff? Hearing none, then I believe we're ready to call for the question. I would state here that since it's a major variance, the motion, if it's approved, would have to carry by 3 out of the 4 members to be forwarded on to the city council for their approval. Having said those preliminaries, do we have any motions?
I will move that we recommend approval of the proposed major variance in case ZBA 2021-MAJ-07 to the Urbana City Council with the following conditions. 1, that the accessory parking space will generally conform to the submitted site plan as shown in Exhibit C. And 2, that the access drive, apron, and driveway will be paved with an approved surface and meet the City of Urbana right-of-way standards subject to Public Works approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's now been seconded. Is there any additional comment or question?
I got one.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Weiss.
Okay. The way it figures out, I'm entitled to, you got 26 feet, 6 inches, right? 27. That's fine. That's exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
All right. I believe then we are ready to call this for a vote. We have a roll call, please.
Yeah, Harvey Welch,
Yes.
Joanne Chester,
Yes.
Ashley McLaughlin,
Yes.
and Nancy Newton.
Yes.
That motion carries with the necessary votes to be forwarded on to the Urbana City Council at their meeting of
November 8th.
November 8th, 2021.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Good
Thank
luck,
you.
sir. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any old business?
None.
Do we have any new business?
No.
Do we have any audience participation?
I'm seeing no members of the audience.
And there are none logged on?
No.
All right. Is there any staff report?
No.
Any study session?
No.
This then concludes all the business of the board, and I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, guys.